I wish we had more human connection when we're passing by in our day-to-day life, because so much magic can come from being aware in our life and unplug from this other world we're plugging into, whether it's through our headphones or actually being on our phone and being in this one. When we do, we get to learn about ourselves, we get to learn about others, we get to feel seen, even though it may just be short, quick conversations. We are acknowledged as a human being, which brings a sense of importance that I don't often very think of until today. Because I went out and I was deeply craving this connection that's outside the bubble of people I connect with, because I find it's hard to get. And also, as much as it's hard to get, it's something I'm scared to put myself out and reach for. And I'm talking about, like, hey, how's it going at small talk with a person that you're in a vicinity with. It's so easy to go up and have these really surface level, like, hey, how are you? Good, you? Good, thanks, take care. No receipt, thanks, bye. And that's the extent of the connection that we have. And it's like, sometimes even in those, the people have an AirPod in, so they're not actually there. They're not actually conversing. And it's hard to put ourselves out. One, do we have the energy to do so? Because we're overstimulated and disconnected. And two, are we comfortable enough doing so, and do we think other people crave it as much as we do? Because I know for myself, I overthink it. I overthink it enough and then don't do it, although I know if someone did it to me, I'd be like, oh, I love that. When someone acknowledges you in a space, it can feel really good. Some days, maybe not so much, you want to be left alone, but the majority of days when someone does that and has, like, reaches out a bid for connection, it's like, ooh, that felt nice. It's remembered. It's something different. It shakes things up. Sometimes that's where opportunities come in. That's where sometimes you're just like, ooh, you see yourself. You can see yourself through it and you connect with others. And if we want more of it, how could we acknowledge it? So that realization came later after a scenario that happened today where I was out and I was feeling good and I was just like, I'm open to receive things right now. Like, I want opportunities, connections, people, conversations, things. And I'm equally quite uncomfortable and don't want to reach out for it. But I know I can do that by putting myself in life and doing things out there, and not be out there but still disconnected, by listening to music, being on my phone in certain situations, going alone often. It's putting myself out there to receive. And today I did that. I went and sat on the beach. I went for bike rides, but I was open to, like, looking at people when passing. Small conversation happened a few times, like, hey, how's it going? Because you're biking at the same speed. Or going to, like, the farmer's market and getting to chat with people there. And just being open to it in different ways. But then also, I went to the beach and was sitting there and I was like, oh man, there's so many people sitting around right now that are either alone or with people, but it's often this happens in alone, because like when you're alone and in solo energy, that's why I think it's so important to have that alone time, because it's easier to walk up to one person than it is to two. You know, you're like, oh, they're in their friend group, like they may not want to be bothered. And I think it's also hard to do because some people take offense to someone coming up to just be curious. I see it online, people are like, who do they think they are? And it's like, they're being a curious person. Sometimes say if it's someone else, they're maybe, like, just not the best vibe they're giving out, you know? And it's like, okay, kind of intruder alert. But that's not always the case. But I think if we have that perception that when someone approaches us, it's like, don't want this, we're not going to get those opportunities and certain things circling to us that are always there, but we're just, voila, can't see it. And today, I had my wall down. I was open to it, but at the same time, I had the fear and didn't want to do it. Now, back to that point. When we want more of something, how could we acknowledge it? So this person came up. This guy came up, and it was really nice. He just, like, sat on the beach, acknowledged the sunset, and we were kind of chatting. And it wasn't of interest. Even if it was, I had to stop myself to be like, oh, maybe he just wants something because he doesn't think I have a boyfriend. It's not something I lead with to be like, hey, I have a boyfriend. Because that's, like, some people can just talk. But honestly, that right there would stop someone from approaching people just for a conversation. Because when you get shut down, you often don't repeat that pattern because you're like, that was really embarrassing, not doing that again. But then we're all craving people to show up differently, yet are we acknowledging when they do? Being like, I really like you did that. That's a really powerful move. It's also vulnerable to be the person doing it, I feel. In that situation, I'm like, I wish I would have done that because I appreciated him reaching out and just very nicely, being like, hey, how's it going? We ended up chatting about bike packing because I had recently done the bike packing trip, brought up that, and it was just like a little back and forth conversation. Really nice, and at the same time, he wasn't coming out to be like weird. It was just a genuine connection, because he also mentioned he had a girlfriend and what she was doing that evening, and I mentioned Sam and that we did the bike packing trip, and it was just a really nice back and forth that I appreciated. Being seen. Literally being seen as a human, and then having that connection that can happen so much more, but in a world where we're so tuned out in the world we're in and with ourselves, and avoiding discomfort, does not happen as often as it should. It makes sense why we feel so alone. But what I realized in that is, okay, if I appreciated this and want this to be repeated, acknowledging that. And acknowledgement doesn't have to be weird. I have a friend who does it. She's cheesy as heck, and she does it. But it doesn't always have to be that cheesy either. And I realized after, I was like, I wish I said that. And it's like, okay, shoulda, coulda, woulda, but I didn't. But I can do something different for next time. Right? It's not that these situations won't come up again, but when they do, it's what did you learn from the last one, and not beating yourself up about what you didn't do, but what can you do better next time it comes up. Because chances are it will. Because things repeat themselves, because we're meant to learn from them. So, in this, it's subtle acknowledgement. I really appreciated that you came up for just a bid for human connection. Honestly, I miss it in this world right now. It's a thought I've had. And acknowledging it. Because if someone said that to me, I'd be like, oh, I'm doing this. I'm doing this more often. This feeling I have to be like, I'm curious about that. Like, you know, you see those things. Sometimes complimenting someone else is the easiest way to start that. Or when you're in a space, just acknowledging something and having that, like, brief little moment of a swap of energy that you're like, nice. Sometimes it's really uncomfortable. I'm like, oh my god. But I'm like, nice. I always leave them a little shifted, a little different. Not in the mundane, day to day. It shifts things. It is really nice. And I think we need more of that. But how can we, one, acknowledge that in other people, and then maybe if other people aren't doing it, you being the first. Because if we're always hoping it's other people, and I kind of was in that today, I was like, man, I hope someone approaches just to have a conversation, but again, I'm scared to do it myself. It worked out this evening. But in some, it's not always going to work out, and I can't always crave something that I'm not willing to do myself. Because then we're just left feeling a certain way. And that we have no control over. So, keep in mind with one, today it worked out. Another day, I'm going to have the confidence to be like, I really appreciated that, so I'm going to do that. I can take that acknowledgement of it and be like, I appreciated that, I didn't get to say it to him, I guess I'll say it to myself. Be like, okay, now if I appreciated that in him, do you think other people would appreciate that too? If I did that little bid for connection, acknowledge people a little bit more than just the, hey, how's it going? Good, you, good? You know, like surface level where it's just like autopilot at this point. I like that. And I think things would be better. Not better. I think we would feel more seen. And also we would grow from the discomfort that brings. And also we would have a little more connection. Also we would see people. I don't think we're feeling seen. We're not seeing ourselves, but I also don't think we're feeling very seen. Because how are we when everybody's like this? Have you seen those pictures of, literally it's a photo of people sitting in their home or doing whatever, literally just society, but they removed the phones from people's hands, and man, it is a depressing version of the reality we live in. But not to just shit on that and be like, oh, the world is and go down that rabbit hole. No, it's like, okay, so how do I be the change I wish to see in the world? Because you can't wish to see it and say, oh, I wish people did this and not do it yourself. That doesn't get us very far. Maybe that's a phase you're in, but it does not get us very far. We gotta be that. We can do that by acknowledging it when others do it, but maybe being the first person to do it as well. That's how change happens.